What if Agatha Christie herself lived through a mystery as thrilling as her novels? Dive into an untold adventure set in the heart of the Syrian desert. The desert sun burns low on the horizon, casting long golden rays over the sprawling expanse of sand and stone. The air, dry and tinged with heat, carries the faint hum of the wind, sweeping swirls of fine grains across the barren Syrian landscape. It's the kind of quiet that presses on the ears, amplifying the distant clang of tools striking ancient earth, and the occasional murmurs of workers deep in concentration. Beneath the shade of a weathered canvas awning, Agatha Christie sits at a simple folding table, a notebook open before her, and a fountain pen in hand. The edges of the pages curl slightly in the dry air, but Agatha is unbothered, her focus unwavering. Her pen moves swiftly, recording thoughts, observations, and fragments of a story that flickers like mirages in her mind. Now and then, she glances toward the heart of the archaeological dig site, where her husband, Max Mallowan, commands the scene with an effortless authority born of expertise. Max is in his element, his lean frame stooped over an excavation trench, as he directs his team with sharp, precise instructions. His hands are caked with dust, and his eyes skein, almost boyishly eager scan every detail of the exposed earth as though it might whisper its secrets to him. Today, however, there's a different energy in the air, a tension that Agatha can't ignore. She feels it in the stillness, in the way the workers exchange wary glances, their shovels and brushes moving more carefully than usual. Agatha shifts in her seat, the faintest frown tugging at her lips. For all the rationality of archaeology, for all the science and logic Max prides himself on, she has learned over the years that there's often something intangible at work in these remote sites. Perhaps it's the history etched into the earth, the remnants of lives long gone. Or perhaps it's the stories whispered by the local tales of curses and spirits, of ancient rulers whose wrath lingered long after their tombs had been sealed. The discovery, a sudden shout pierces the air, breaking Agatha's reverie. Her head snaps up, and she sees one of the workers, a young man with a weathered face and dirt-smeared hands, gesturing excitedly toward the trench. Max is already moving, crouching beside the worker to peer into the shadowed depths of the excavation. "What is it?" Agatha calls out, rising from her seat. Her voice carries easily across the stillness, cutting through the murmurs that have begun to ripple through the team. Max doesn't reply immediately, his focus entirely on the object being unearthed. The worker, now joined by others, carefully lifts a chunk of earth, revealing a small clay tablet cradled within. The tablet's surface is cracked and weathered, the edges jagged, but even from a distance, Agatha can see the faint, intricate markings that cover it. By the time she reaches Max's side, he has the tablet in his hands, his expression a mix of awe and puzzlement. He runs his fingers gently over the symbols, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What have you found, Max?" she asks softly. Max glances up at her, his face alight with the thrill of discovery. "I'm not entirely sure," he admits, "but it's remarkable. These markings, they're not like anything we've cataloged before. It could be an unknown script, something predating even the earliest records we've studied." The workers gather closer, their initial excitement giving way to hushed whispers. Among them is Jamal, the team's local guide, a man with sharp eyes and a deep knowledge of the region's history and folklore. Jamal steps forward, his gaze fixed on the tablet as though it holds something far more dangerous than mere historical significance. "This is cursed," Jamal murmurs, his voice trembling. The workers fall silent, their eyes darting between the tablet and the guide. "The stories, they warned us. The queen who ruled this land, she demanded silence. Anyone who disturbed her secrets paid the price." Max straightens, his expression carefully neutral, as he studies Jamal. "You're referring to local legends," he says. There's no mockery in his tone, but his skepticism is clear. "Legends are born from truth," Jamal replies firmly. His eyes meet Agatha's, and she feels a shiver run down her spine. The tablet should not be touched. It should not even have been unearthed. Unsettling omens. The other workers shift uneasily, their earlier enthusiasm fading into nervous tension. A few mutter under their breath, glancing at Jamal as though waiting for him to say more. Agatha notices the way their hands falter, their movements slower and more deliberate now, as though the ground itself has become treacherous. Agatha's gaze returns to the tablet in Max's hands. The symbols, though faint and worn, seem almost alive under the sunlight, their intricate lines twisting and curling in patterns that defy easy interpretation. There's something unsettling about them, something that feels wrong. Agatha, Max says, breaking her thoughts. He holds the tablet out to her, his eyes alight with curiosity. What do you think? You've always had a knack for seeing things I miss. She hesitates before taking it, her fingers brushing against the cool, rough surface. The symbols seem to hum beneath her touch, a faint vibration that she almost dismisses as her imagination. Almost. I think Jamal has a point, she says carefully. There's a weight to this discovery. Something about it feels heavy. Max smiles faintly, the corners of his mouth twitching in amusement. Heavy as an bird, its history in its purest form, untouched for thousands of years. Jamal's voice cuts in, sharp and low. It's not history, it's a warning. The air grows heavier still, the wind picking up just enough to stir the sand around their feet. Agatha glances at Jamal, noting the fear in his eyes. She wants to dismiss it, to write it off as superstition. But as she looks back at the tablet, at the strange, unreadable symbols that seem to pulse with an almost imperceptible energy, she feels the first flicker of doubt. Something isn't right, and deep down she knows they've awakened more than just the past. Tension builds, the vanishing worker. The sun sets, casting long shadows across the camp, and the workers begin to pack up for the day. Agatha stands at the edge of the site, watching as the tablet is carefully moved to a secure tent for further examination. But despite the busy hum of activity, there's an unease settling over the camp, a sense that someone is missing. Suddenly, the air is pierced by a sharp cry of voice cracking with terror. It's Abdul, one of the workers who had been handling the artifact earlier in the day. He's sprinting across the camp, his face twisted in panic. It's coming! It's coming for me! Abdul screams, his voice nearly breaking. Before anyone can react, he crashes into one of the tents, knocking it down in his frantic escape. The workers rush toward the commotion, but by the time they reach the tent, Abdul is gone, vanished into thin air, with nothing but the faint rustle of the wind and a rising dust storm in his wake. There's no sign of struggle, no clue to his whereabouts, just the feeling that something or someone has taken him. The camp falls silent, the unsettling reality sinking in. Where could he have gone? And why was he so terrified? Max, standing at the center of the scene, turns to his team, his face drawn with concern. Get him back, he orders, though his voice lacks conviction. He knows, as does Agatha, that this isn't a simple disappearance. Something more sinister is at play. The cryptic clue. As night settles over the camp, Agatha cannot shake the feeling that the events unfolding are tied to something far older than they could have imagined. Her instincts tell her to look closer. Something about Abdul's disappearance doesn't sit right. She slips into the night, moving toward the area where Abdul was last seen. Under the flickering light of her lantern, Agatha examines the sand, now disturbed by Abdul's frantic flight. Her eyes narrow as she notices something strange in the dust symbol, carved hastily into the sand. It's not a natural pattern, this is something deliberate, something that should not be here. Agatha kneels, brushing aside the loose grains. Her heart skips a beat as she recognizes the symbols the same as the ones etched into the tablet earlier. The ancient script, now revealed in the desert sands. But there's more to it. A hidden message beneath the symbol that isn't immediately apparent. Seraphis, it reads. The name of the queen from the tablet. Her pulse quickens. The symbol is clear, but its meaning isn't. It's a warning, perhaps a message, from someone who wanted to be sure the curse would be remembered. Max suddenly appears at her side, his face tight with unease. What is it? What did you find? Before Agatha can answer, a shadow crosses their path. A figure aped in dark cloth appears in the distance, moving swiftly toward the ruins. Agatha freezes, instinctively grabbing Max's arm. Who is that? She whispers, but Max remains silent, his expression hardening. It's too dangerous to follow tonight, Max says, his voice strained. We don't know who that is or what they're after. But Agatha, her mind racing with possibilities, feels a tug of urgency. Abdul's disappearance, the symbols, the figure in the dark, it all points to something far more dangerous than anyone had expected. The figure disappears into the darkness, vanishing into the labyrinth of the ruins. And in that moment, Agatha realizes the artifact is only the beginning. The call to adventure. Conflict introduced. Strange behavior. The days blur into each other as the excavation team works tirelessly under the relentless Syrian sun. The discovery of the ancient clay tablet and the cryptic symbols has brought the team closer, but there's something unsettling about the way some of the workers now act, something Agatha can't quite place. Agatha Christie is known for her sharp mind, her ability to read people with precision, and lately her instincts are on high alert. At first she dismissed it as paranoia, but the signs are becoming too obvious to ignore. Abdul, who was once friendly and talkative, now keeps to himself, his eyes darting nervously whenever someone approaches him. Jamal, the local guide, has been whispering to others when he thinks no one is listening, casting furtive glances at the tablet, almost as if he knows more than he's letting on. Even Max, usually calm and composed, seems distracted these days, his mind constantly drifting back to the strange tablet and the ancient script he's been attempting to decode. He's been translating parts of it, and the more he uncovers, the more uneasy he becomes. The team continues to work in silence, the only sounds the distant echo of pickaxes and shovels striking the earth. But for Agatha, the silence is too heavy, the suspicion in the air growing thicker by the hour. She can't help but wonder who among them is hiding something, who might have their own agenda. As Agatha observes, her eyes land on one worker in particular. Ferris, a quiet man from the neighboring town. He's been spending an inordinate amount of time near the ruins, far away from the main camp. His movements seem deliberate, and his furtive glances toward the tablet make Agatha uneasy. Something is wrong. Max translates the artifact. The tomb's secret. Late one evening, as the excavation camp settles into the stillness of night, Max sits alone under a makeshift lantern, his eyes glued to the ancient tablet. His face is drawn, his brow furrowed in concentration. The more he decodes the symbols, the more the ancient script begins to reveal itself, its meaning slowly unfolding. The tablet isn't just a record, it's a warning, a map. This can't be, Max mutters to himself, his voice barely audible in the silent night. His hands tremble as he carefully traces the markings on the surface of the tablet. Agatha, who had been silently watching from across the camp, steps forward, sensing that this is the breakthrough they've been waiting for. "What have you found?" she asks, her voice steady but filled with curiosity. Max looks up at her, his eyes wide with disbelief. "The tablet," he says slowly, his voice tinged with a sense of dread. "It's pointing to something. An undiscovered Tomba tomb belonging to a forgotten ruler, one who was buried with treasures no one could imagine. But it's not just wealth that lies in there. The script warns of dangerous secrets, powers that were never meant to be uncovered. The mystery deepens. Discovery of the first clue, a hidden passage." It's another blistering afternoon at the excavation site, the sun relentless as it beats down upon the workers. But something feels different today. There's a chill in the air, despite the heat. Agatha's mind is swirling with questions, her thoughts heavy, with the sense that the strange occurrences of the past few days are no coincidence. The disappearance of Abdul, the missing artifact, and the shadowy figure from the storm, they're all connected, somehow. As she walks through the ruins, lost in thought, her eyes catch something an unusual pattern in the stone, faint but discernible, carved into the edge of the foundation. Agatha kneels down, her fingers brushing the ancient markings. It's the same symbol she saw earlier, the same symbol that appeared in the sand and was etched onto the tablet. Her pulse quickens. This isn't just a coincidence. Perhaps someone from the past wanted this symbol to be found, to guide them to something. She signals to Max, who approaches cautiously, his brow furrowed in concentration. "What is it, Agatha?" "I think we found something," she replies, voice tinged with excitement. "A passage hidden beneath the ruins." Max's eyes widen as he examines the area. Impossible. There was nothing like this in the records. But Agatha's eyes have already spotted a faint gap in the stone, a cleverly concealed entrance. With a combination of intuition and effort, she dislodges the stone, revealing a narrow passageway leading deep into the earth. The air inside is damp and cool, a stark contrast to the oppressive heat above. The team hesitates at the threshold, but Agatha, driven by a relentless curiosity, steps forward first. Max follows, closely behind, his skepticism giving way to the allure of a discovery, unlike any other. As they descend, the passage grows narrower, the air thick with dust. Soon they arrive at a small chamber, its walls covered in ancient inscriptions. But it's not the markings that stop Agatha in her tracks, it's the faint, musty scent of decay in the air. Something about this room feels wrong. Suddenly a soft click echoes through the chamber. Max steps forward cautiously, his hand brushing against a stone relief. With a low rumble, the floor beneath them shifts. The walls groan as ancient traps spring to life. Poison darts shoot from hidden crevices, narrowly missing Agatha as she dives to the side. The team scatters in panic, avoiding the pressure plates and hidden blades. But in the midst of the chaos, one thing becomes clear. This tomb was not just a burial site. It was designed to protect its secrets at all costs. After narrowly avoiding the traps, Agatha and Max make their way to the center of the chamber where another inscription catches their eye. This one, unlike the others, is written in a language that is both alien and familiar. It's a warning, etched into the stone with deliberate care. To those who seek the riches of Seriphus, beware. Greed brings death. Betrayal seals your fate. Agatha's breath catches. The warning is unmistakable and it's meant for them. Suspicions and deceit. A growing paranoia. The camp is suffocating under the weight of unspoken fear, a palpable tension that clings to every corner. The discovery of the hidden passage within the tomb, with its intricate, deadly traps and chilling symbols, has cast a shadow over the team. Each new revelation only deepens the sense of unease, and the warning that had been inscribed on the tablet, still fresh in Agatha's mind, lingers like a ghost. The air feels heavier with each passing hour, as though the very earth itself is holding its breath, awaiting something unspeakable. Back at camp, the atmosphere has shifted dramatically. The workers, once eager and full of youthful excitement, are now a jittery, restless group. They no longer chat and laugh as they did in the early days of the dig. Instead, they keep to themselves, avoiding eye contact, and casting furtive glances toward the excavation site, as if afraid to look at it directly. The whispers are constant, low and worried stories of curses and bad omens, of dark forces at play, of unseen dangers that are too real to dismiss. But Agatha's worries go beyond the fears of the workers. It's the behavior of the expedition team members that keeps her up at night. The odd, increasingly paranoid looks exchanged when no one is watching, the hushed conversations that fall silent as soon as she or Max approaches. There's something not quite right. Agatha has learned to trust her instincts, and they're screaming at her that something or someone is deliberately destabilizing the team, feeding the growing distrust and anxiety. The first indication of sabotage came with the theft of a crucial artifact from the excavation site, a rare, intricately carved stone amulet that had been recovered alongside the clay tablet. The amulet was carefully catalogued, secured in the team's tent, and yet the following morning it was gone. No sign of a break-in, no trace of the artifact's movement, just an unsettling emptiness where it had been stored. It was shortly after that when Ferris, a young and promising archaeologist, disappeared without a trace. One moment he was at the excavation site, assisting Max with a detailed survey of the tomb's hidden chambers. The next, he was gone, as if swallowed by the desert itself. The workers had seen nothing, the team had heard nothing, and the only clue was a faint trail of footprints that led toward the desert's edge, but stopped abruptly. As days stretched into weeks, Agatha's concerns deepened. Ferris was a diligent and dedicated member of the team. His sudden disappearance wasn't a mere accident, it was the work of something far more sinister. But who among them could be responsible? The answer, Agatha fears, lies within the members of the expedition itself. Dr. Hughes, a recent addition to the team, has become a focal point of her suspicions. Known for his unorthodox methods and mysterious past, he was initially seen as an Occitan expert in ancient languages with a deep knowledge of Mesopotamian texts. However, his behavior has become increasingly erratic. He spends long hours holed up in the corner of his tent, poring over ancient manuscripts and muttering to himself about the treasures hidden within the tomb. At first, Agatha chalked it up to his obsession with the artifacts, but now, as she watches him obsessively sketch the symbols from the tablet and the secret inscriptions from the tomb's walls, she senses something darker at play. His eyes, once sharp and calculating, now dart nervously at every shadow, his hands trembling when he handles the ancient scrolls. Could he be hiding something from the rest of the team? Is his obsession rooted in a genuine desire for discovery, or is he driven by something more dangerous? Nadia, the local guide, is just as unsettling. With her deep connection to the land and the local history, she was brought onto the team for her knowledge of the region's secrets, but Agatha's gut tells her that Nadia is hiding more than she's willing to reveal. The strange coincidences are starting to pile up. Nadia seems to know far more about the artifact than she should, more than she's letting on. She speaks in cryptic phrases when discussing the tomb's history, alluding to a long-forgotten bloodline that has protected the tomb for generations. When Agatha presses her for more information, Nadia becomes evasive, her usually calm demeanor giving way to fleeting moments of agitation. Her eyes dart around when the subject comes up, and she seems unwilling to meet Agatha's gaze for too long. In private conversations with the workers, Agatha overhears whispers of Nadia's family rumors of a long-standing connection to the tomb, of an ancient pact that may have been broken, leading to the curse they believe now haunts the site. But it's not just the archaeologists and guides that are acting suspiciously. Inspector Hassan, the Syrian officer brought in to investigate the disappearances, has become an increasingly enigmatic presence within the camp. His calm demeanor and steady authority were initially reassuring, a stabilizing force amidst the growing chaos. However, the more Agatha observes him, the more she's convinced that he's hiding something. Hassan is constantly seen in private conversations with the workers, speaking to them in low, urgent tone. There's something about the way he holds his gaze, something calculating that doesn't match his outwardly friendly, professional persona. Agatha wonders if Hassan's investigation into the workers' disappearances is truly as thorough as it seems, or if he's using his position to dig deeper into matters of his own. The final straw comes during a meeting one evening, when Agatha notices the cold, conspiratorial glances exchanged between Dr. Hughes, Nadia, and Hassan. It's subtle but unmistakable. There's a tension in the air that wasn't there before, a shared secret among them that seems to exclude Agatha and Mac. The three of them are too quiet, too calculating, as though they've made some silent agreement to keep the truth hidden. But what is that truth? As the evening briefing draws to a close, Agatha's unease deepens. The group disbands without a word, each member retreating into their tents or wandering off into the darkening camp, leaving Agatha and Max alone. Agatha looks at him, her voice low with concern. "I don't trust them, Max," she murmurs, glancing toward the distant figures of Dr. Hughes, Nadia, and Hassan, standing at the edge of the camp, their faces hidden in shadow. "Something is very wrong here." Max looks at her, his expression unreadable. For a moment, he doesn't speak, but when he finally does, his words are filled with a somber understanding. "You're right. We need to stay vigilant. Whatever's happening here, it's far from over." And as Agatha looks out over the camp, her heart heavy with suspicion, she knows that the danger they're facing isn't just from the Tombits, from the very people they've trusted. Cliffhanger, the whispering shadows. As the night deepens and the camp settles into a tense silence, Agatha and Max return to their tent, their minds racing with the events of the day. The discovery of the hidden passage, the traps, the warning gets all connected. But to what end? Suddenly a soft knock at the door of their tent. Max opens it to reveal Dr. Hughes, his face pale, eyes wide with fear. "I need to speak with you," he says urgently, his voice trembling. "There's something you need to see." Agatha's curiosity peaks, and without a word, she follows Max and Dr. Hughes to a secluded part of the camp. The air is cold, and the moon casts eerie shadows on the ground. "Doctor?" Hughes leads them to the edge of the ruins, where a fresh set of footprints leads them toward an uncharted area of the site. "This isn't part of the excavation," Dr. Hughes says, his voice barely a whisper. "I found something dangerous." But before Agatha can ask what he means, there's a soft rustle in the distance. A figure emerges from the darkness, moving swiftly and silent. Agatha's breath catches in her throat. It's Nadia, standing at the edge of the ruins, watching them with cold, calculating eyes. "I knew you would come," Nadia says, her voice dripping with an unsettling calm. "But you're too late. The tomb has already chosen its next victim." The screen fades to black, leaving the audience in stunned silence, wondering, who is Nadia really working for, and what has she unleashed? Agatha's heart skips a beat. This is more than just a treasure hunt. This is something ancient, something forbidden. "This tomb," Agatha says, her voice quiet but filled with determination. "It's real, isn't it?" Max nods slowly, his gaze never leaving the tablet. "I think so. It matches the descriptions in old scrolls, but there's something here I can't yet explain. It's almost as if this ruler wasn't just a king, but something more, something unnatural." Agatha looks around the camp, her mind racing. The pieces are falling into place, but the implications are terrifying. The tomb is real and it could hold untold power. Inciting incident. The sandstorm and the vanishing artifact. As dawn breaks, the camp is a hive of activity. Max, Agatha, and the team are excitedly preparing for the next phase of their excavation, mapping the exact location of the tomb entrance. The discovery of the artifact and the ancient tablet has energized everyone, and for a brief moment there's a renewed sense of purpose. Agatha reviews their notes, while Max ensures that the delicate instruments are calibrated. But the hopeful mood is short-lived. It begins subtly, at first a faint stirring in the air, the kind that prickles at the back of your neck. Then the sky begins to change, taking on an ominous hue, as if dipped in ink. The wind picks up in sudden violent gusts, snatching loose papers and sending dust swirling in chaotic spirals. The workers, accustomed to desert weather, pause in their tasks, their faces turning upward as they murmur in alarm. "Sandstorm!" one of them shouts, the warning cutting through the camp like a knife. The storm rolls in with alarming speed, a monstrous wall of sand and wind that looms on the horizon. In moments, the sky is swallowed whole, turning an eerie, suffocating gray. The howling wind crashes into the camp like a living force, tearing at the tents and scattering tools as though they were toys. Workers scramble for cover, shouting over the deafening roar as visibility drops to almost nothing. Agatha and Max, caught in the chaos, rush to secure the largest tent, the one housing their equipment, and the precious artifact they unearthed just days ago. The tablet, their most vital discovery, is stored there alongside the small, intricately carved amulet that serves as the physical key to unlocking the tomb. Agatha clutches her notebook tightly against her chest as she fights her way through the storm, Max just behind her, yelling for the others to take shelter. Inside the tent, the team huddles together as the storm batters the fragile structure. Sand slips through the seams, coating everything in a fine stinging layer. Agatha takes a head count max. Dr. Hughes, Nadia, Inspector Hassan, and two junior archaeologists all present, all shaken. Outside, the storm's fury is relentless, the winds threatening to collapse the tent at any moment. "Secure the equipment," Max shouts, his voice barely audible over the wind. "The tablet makes sure it's safe." The team moves quickly, shoving crates and instruments toward the center of the tent, trying to shield the most valuable items. Agatha's heart pounds as she checks the box where the artifact had been carefully placed. She pulls the latch to confirm it's still there, but the moment she opens it, her stomach drops. The artifact is gone. For a split second, Agatha stares at the empty box, her mind refusing to accept what she's seeing. It had been there just hours ago, locked away and protected. But now, the carved amulet, their key to the tomb, has vanished. "Max!" she shouts, her voice trembling. "It's not hair, it's gone!" "What do you mean, gone?" Max rushes to her side, his eyes widening as he peers into the empty box. "That's impossible. It was locked up. Who?" His words are cut off by a loud crash as one of the tent poles gives way, sending a cascade of sand and fabric into the enclosed space. Dr. Hughes scrambles to reinforce it, cursing under his breath. The storm outside rages on, but inside the tent, the chaos has taken on a new dimension. Agatha turns to face the rest of the team, her voice sharp and commanding, despite the panic swirling in her chest. "The artifact is missing. Someone took it." The declaration sends a ripple through the group. Eyes dart nervously around the tent, suspicion blooming like wildfire. The workers are outside, too frightened to brave the storm, which means the theft must have been an inside job. "It couldn't have just disappeared," Inspector Hassan says, his tone grave. "Someone here knows where it is." "Don't look at me," Dr. Hughes snaps, his face pale but defiant. "I haven't left the tent all morning." "And neither have I," Nadia interjects, her voice steady but her expression guarded. "Why would I take it? That artifact is the key to this entire excavation." "Exactly," Max says, his tone hardening. "It's the key to the tomband to whatever treasures lie inside. Someone here knows its value and decided they'd rather keep it for themselves." The tension in the room is suffocating. Each face is a mask of fear and suspicion, the storm outside mirroring the turmoil within. Agatha studies the group, her mind racing. Could it be Hughes, whose obsession with the tomb's secrets has only grown more intense? Or Nadia, whose cryptic knowledge of the tomb's history has always been suspect? Even Inspector Hassan, who had seemed trustworthy until now, isn't above scrutiny. "I swear," one of the junior archaeologists stammers, his voice shaking. "I didn't touch it. I haven't even gone near that box since it was locked up." Agatha's gaze lingers on him for a moment before shifting to the others. If no one here took it, then where is it? Artifacts don't just vanish into thin air. A sharp gust of wind tears at the tent again, and for a moment the group is silent, the sound of the storm filling the space. Agatha's heart pounds as she looks from one face to the next, searching for any hint of guilt, any slip in composure. "We're wasting time," Max says, his voice tight with frustration. "If we don't figure this out now, we risk losing everything. The storm won't last forever, but if that artifact is gone, then so is our chance to unlock the tomb." Agatha finishes, her voice cold. The realization settles over the group like a weight, and the atmosphere grows even tenser. Outside, the storm howls with renewed fury, but inside the tent, a far more dangerous storm is brewing. Trust has been shattered, and with it, the fragile unity that had kept the expedition moving forward. Agatha knows that the theft isn't just an act of greed, it's a deliberate sabotage, a calculated move designed to destabilize the team and derail their mission. And as the storm rages on, one thing becomes clear. The real danger isn't outside the tent. It's right here, among them. Cliffhanger. The disappearance of Faris. As the storm finally begins to subside, the team rushes to search the site, retracing their steps in a desperate attempt to find the missing artifact. The night is eerily quiet, the desert air now cold and still. But when they reach the excavation site, something even stranger happens. Ferris, the quiet worker who had been acting suspiciously, is nowhere to be found. Max and Agatha stand at the edge of the site, their hearts racing. Ferris was one of the few who had access to the artifact before it disappeared. Had he taken it? Had he gone to hide it in the desert? But there's more on the ground. Just a few feet away from where Ferris had last been seen lies a deep set of footprints, but they don't lead anywhere. The sand is undisturbed in all directions except for that one spot. Then, as Agatha bends to examine the tracks more closely, a faint whisper barely audible over the rustling of the wind floats through the air. "You shouldn't have come here. Now it's too late." The voice is cold, chilling, and unmistakably not from any of the team members. The screen cuts to black, leaving the audience hanging, questioning who or what is watching them, and what Ferris's disappearance really means. Do you believe in curses? What would you do in a sandstorm like this?